Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, February 7, 2018. I am Yvette Bowens with the details. The opposition New Democratic Party, NDP, is of the view that this country is under grave jeopardy and the rights of Vincentians are being taken for granted. At a media conference today, opposition leader Dr. Friday expressed dissatisfaction with what transpired in Parliament on January 29, 2018, when their motion of no confidence was prevented from being heard by an amendment put forward by the government. According to the opposition leader, since their motion of no confidence cannot be heard, they decided after much consideration not to take part in the budget debate.
It is a constitutional imperative and a reasonable expectation of all decent Vincentians and all people who respect the democratic way of life that the debate should take place. Indeed, it takes precedence over the budget debate, since the very legitimacy of the government hangs in the balance. In other words, the government doesn't get to bring a budget until it shows that it survives the motion of no confidence. This validation of our constitutional processes will provide the appropriate forum for the opposition to put forward the case against the ULP government, in the expectation that a vote of no confidence may succeed and a new elections held to give the electorate an opportunity to vote, so that a breath of fresh air may blow across our islands and usher in a new start to tackle the socio-economic issues under an NDP government.
Dr. Friday said he wrote a letter to the Speaker of the House, Jomo Thomas, expressing their dissatisfaction on what transpired, noting that it was a violation of the Constitution.
What was done on Wednesday violated the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Many people have fought for our constitutional rights. They fought to ensure that today we can benefit from those rights and the freedoms that the Constitution guarantees. Prime Minister Gonsalves has transformed our Parliament into a pantomime by which he indulges in acting out narcissistic fantasies. He obeys rules and laws when it suits him and his purpose, and he ignores and tramples on others when it does not suit his purpose. He flaunts the garb of democratic governance, but functions like a despot, reminiscent in many eyes of the recently deposed Mugabe in Zimbabwe.
The opposition leader said their decision to stay away from Parliament for the budget presentation and debate is not about delinquency, but a strategic move to gain attention locally, regionally, and internationally of what is taking place in the country. He noted that if they have to be penalized by docking their pay, they are ready for such consequence in order to protect the country's constitution. Also calling for the matter of the no confidence motion to be resolved before the operations of Parliament could go back to normal is chairperson of the New Democratic Party and MP for West Kingston, Daniel Cummins. The MP for West Kingston described the maneuverings of the ruling Unity Labour Party administration as a tragedy which must be corrected.
This is saying is that any government in the future can do whatever it wants. And unless the government of the day allows and agrees to a vote of no confidence, no matter the strength of the opposition, such vote of no confidence could never be heard in the Parliament of this land. I want you to understand that the Constitution thought of a vote of no confidence as one of the means of changing government. I want you to remember that this is the regime that against the constitutional norms with a duly elected government of the New Democratic Party brought this country to its knees by breaking the laws. In other words, what the ULP is saying to you today, that you must go and break the laws and forget about the Constitution if you want to disrupt the society and bring down an illegitimate government. We say no. We say we are people of laws and the Constitution must stand firm.
Cummins believes that the rights of Vincentians are being slighted by the ULP administration.
And every month in a regular parliament in the Caribbean, the opposition is allowed to bring motions and debate them, exposing the ills of the government. It has never happened here. And the one mechanism that is enshrined in the Constitution, the vote of no confidence, this dictatorship has attempted to legitimize its outlawing. In other words, if you the Constitution, the hell was it? I don't think you and some of our people understand how this is pivotal to our democracy. And it is something that if you don't get passionate about it, then you're missing the point. Dr. Friday has made the point. As important as the budget is, it is trivia in relation to such a fundamental constitutional position. That the one opportunity to bring the government down legally in the parliament, this government dictates that if it doesn't agree, then you can have it. You know what an affront that is to our democracy? That is the point.
With some 300 million EC dollars owed in taxes, Finance Minister Camila Gonzalez has indicated the government's plan to initiate a tax amnesty program. Delivering the 2018 National Budget Address on Monday evening, Gonzalez said the 3-month initiative would allow individuals or businesses behind in paying state taxes to do so without facing any penalties. Nikita Tony tells us more in this report.
Along with efforts to reduce the tax burden on Vincentians, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is also bent on cracking down on delinquent taxpayers this year. With some $12 million in government revenue lost due to tax reduction measures, Finance Minister Camila Gonzalez, during the 2018 budget address, outlined that the government will also seek to implement a series of legislative and administrative enhancements to its tax collection apparatus, one of which will be a 3-month tax amnesty window to be administered by the Inland Revenue Department, IRD.
$300 million is close to 50% of the budgeted current revenue, and 28% more than our entire planned capital expenditure for 2018. It is unacceptable that law-abiding taxpayers are being asked to subsidize the cost of such massive non-compliance.
The finance minister said the government is concerned with the withholding of taxes from the government, especially the value-added tax, VAT, and pay-as-you-earn PAYE contributions.
Today, outstanding VAT and PAYE amounts to $58.2 million. Businesses that charge customers VAT and then pocket it instead of remitting it to the government are committing a criminal offense. In illegally keeping VAT money, essentially as working capital, they are giving themselves an unfair advantage over fellow businesses that submit VAT in compliance with the law. The arguments are similar for PAYE.
Minister Gonzalez went on to encourage delinquent taxpayers to take advantage of the tax amnesty window.
We are inviting all non-compliant taxpayers to go to the Inland Revenue Department to negotiate payment plans and settlement options in exchange for a waiver of a percentage of interest and penalties. At the expiration of that tax amnesty, the Inland Revenue Department will immediately commence collection procedures against those who did not negotiate appropriate arrangements to settle their arrears or those who breached the terms of their payment plan.
The newly appointed finance minister also outlined provisions to help strengthen the Inland Revenue Department, IRD, in its tax collecting efforts.
This budget provides for the hiring of 3 additional High Court bailiffs who will be assigned exclusively to assist the Inland Revenue Department to strengthen their collection efforts. Beyond tax cuts and tax collections, we intend to push through a number of reforms to improve administrative efficiency and equity in our system of taxation. Chief among those is the enactment of a modern tax administration procedures bill and amendments to the Income Tax Act. Where the facts and the law merit, the Inland Revenue Department will not shy away from sharing potential criminal cases of tax fraud with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions.
At present, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is said to be owed some $300 million in taxes, inclusive of interest and penalties. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
The Finance Minister announced that the government will be implementing an import ban on all motor vehicles older than 12 years. The move, according to the minister, forms part of the government's efforts to combat environmental degradation and more so air pollution. He further noted that there will also be an increase in the vehicle surcharge effective May 1st, 2018.
Over the years, the importation of used cars older than 4 years old has increased tremendously. The phenomenon has increased traffic congestion and the number of derelict vehicles left abandoned along our roadways. For some time, we have resisted taking action on limiting the age of vehicles being imported, but the time has come to address this. With effect from the 1st of May 2018, a ban is imposed on the importation of used motor vehicles over 12 years old. Additionally, the vehicle surcharge on motor vehicles older than 4 years old will be increased. This measure is expected to yield $1.2 million in additional revenue, and these increases will become effective from the 1st of May 2018.
And Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves on radio today says his government will continue to implement policies to reduce the tax burden on Vincentians. Highlighting the benefits of taxation policies in the 2018 budget on WeFM today, PM Gonsalves said whilst all must pay their fair share of taxes, the government has implemented measures which raise the income tax threshold, thus reducing the burden on Vincentians and increase the government's revenue earning capacity through increased economic activities.
Now remember this. When we arrived in office, the threshold was 12,000 at the bottom. Now reached 20. And it was 40 at the top rate. For both company and personal income tax, it's now 30. And for hoteliers, 29. Those are big movements. He really wants to go possibly down to 25 in stages. In the government, we're trying to work it out with the professionals to see whether the quote-unquote sweet spot is 25, around 25 or 27. You know what I mean? Where, at which point you could reduce the tax, the rate of tax, but still, all things being equal, you could get more because of the additional business generated.
On the issue of VAT on electricity, PM Gonsalves said the tax threshold is generally not reached by most Vincentians and added that even where they use the amount taxable, the rate is not onerous.
They don't go beyond 150. It was 23%, which used to be over 200. You have another 13% now, which is between 150 and 200. So you have about 36% of the people, 37% of the consumers will pay VAT on the electricity. But let us even say, who you used to pay nothing at 200. What would you now pay if you're doing 200? Because remember, the first 150 is VAT free. The first 150 units. So you only pay on the 50 between 150 and a 200 if you do 200 units.
Speaking in relation to the tax on hotel rooms, PM Gonsalves stated that this will not negatively affect the country's tourism product.
I heard one or two people say, if you put $8 EC, $3 US a night to help you with climate change, climate resilience levy, the one that Camilla just put on, that you go and chase tourists. You think you're going to chase tourists with that? And Camilla discussed it with the hoteliers. The hoteliers say, yeah, it's a good tax. Because we have a 1 percentage point more on the VAT. Everybody has to help, you know. You know what I mean, Danny?
Yes.
We who live here and those who come here with us. Because they appreciate that. It's a problem all over the world.
Stakeholders from member states of the OECS and SVG's Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment and the Inter-American Drug Abuse Control Commission, the CICAD, has been engaged in a workshop designed to reduce the challenges member states face in dealing with drug abuse and control. Stakeholders kicked off the 7th round of the multi-evaluation mechanisms today and expects the tool will aid in the evaluation of all countries in the hemisphere. Speaking today, CICAD Program Ambassador Adam Nam, who highlighted how the projects aimed at addressing the drug control and abuse.
7th round of the multilateral evaluation mechanism, which is a tool for the hemisphere to evaluate all of the countries in the hemisphere. So all of the countries, all of the member states of the OAS get together every 3 years and evaluate the drug policies and programs of the other countries. In addition to that, CICAD, the Inter-American Drug Abuse Control Commission, conducts many other activities in the Caribbean: demand reduction, supply reduction, institutional strengthening, the institution of drug policies. And I was very pleased to hear Minister Brown mention this morning that St. Vincent and the Grenadines has now established a national drug council and will be working on a national drug strategy. Drug treatment courts is something that we also assist member states of the OAS with. And we also have an Inter-American Observatory on Drugs. So in all of these areas, CICAD, the Inter-American Drug Abuse Control Commission, is working to help the member states of the OAS confront the drug problem in their countries, all aspects of the drug problem.
Also speaking today was Sophia Cosmas, the MEM unit chief, who stated that the MEM unit's work aid is revealing the strength and weaknesses of each member state.
The new MEM is all about during the 7th round, how the evaluations are going to be done. The product of the MEM is basically national evaluation reports and one hemispheric report. The round is going to last for about 2 years, where we would have a product, 34 national reports, and one report that would be looking over what are the efforts being done as a hemisphere. We want to thank in here also CARICOM, because this partnership is with CARICOM to get this meeting done. They will be hand in hand with us. We would be doing a national workshop tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, for all the stakeholders, the national stakeholders in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, on how best to present their information. So when the GEG evaluators take a look at the St. Vincent and Grenadines information, it's precise and it will reveal exactly the reality of the country in their efforts of drug control. The MEM reports will reveal strengths and challenges of the, normally that's what it reveals, strengths and challenges of the countries.
Students at the Bel Air Government School got the opportunity to learn more about safer internet usage in a face-to-face session with Director of Operations and the marketing team at Digicel on Safer Internet Day on Tuesday, February 6, 2018. The theme for this year's celebration of Safer Internet Day is Create, Connect, and Share Respect. A better internet starts with you. Director of Operations at Digicel SVG, Fanta Williams, said technology has created a culture of immediacy where people feel the need to always be engaged, and in many cases, this doesn't provide time for thought and reflection before acting. And so people do say and post things that could hurt others or that they themselves may ultimately regret. Williams further noted that it is the responsibility of everyone, young people, parents, teachers, social workers, law enforcement, companies, policymakers, and the general public to work together to create a better, safer internet. The session ended with the students and teachers presented with gifts including notebooks, water bottles, cakes, and more from the digital team.